Rise and shine. Hello there. Prime Insight here on Joy Prime. And of course, we're excited to come your way again with what we call the battleground for ideas. This is Prime Insight, and I believe that once you're here with us, you know what we are about. It's all about the nation, discourse towards national development. That's what we do by looking at some of the topical issues that have trended throughout the week. And we get your input as our viewers at home and both in studio. My studio audience will have their take on all these national issues. Plus, of course, our panelists will be here to feed us with their thoughts on the matters. Welcome again to the program. My name is Blessed Suhuyini. Of course, we have lots of issues to discuss. Actually, lots of issues because the first issue that we're about to look at is generating a lot of conversation. That's about the energy sector. Are we really having an energy crisis, or it's just a one-off, if you want to describe it as such? Because over the last few days, Ghanaians have been concerned about the increasing spate of erratic power supply across many parts of this country. It's caused the president himself to have a first-hand briefing on the situation. The understanding we have from the energy minister is that the mission is accomplished. Therefore, we're not expecting that in the coming days you should be having same outages in some parts of the country. But is that really the case? And are we out of the woods yet? That's what we're looking at today on Prime Insight. And of course, the whole conversation also around our finances as a country. The concern about the Bank of Ghana making losses. This is not the first time, to be fair, that we've gone into this conversation about the BOG making some losses. The minority now is having their say, attributing all of these challenges to some of the concerns they have with public policy regarding Gold Board, regarding the BOG, and some issues happening there. So what will be the impact, and what exactly is the concern of the opposition on this matter? All of these issues we'll look at here on Prime Insight, so be our guest. But why don't we start off by giving you a wrap of some of the major issues surrounding this whole issue about Doomso or Doom CAC, or whether you want to call it power outages. Watch these excerpts that we've put together, including the comments by the president on the way forward.
April 1st, what was the situation like in terms of April? You can see a similar thing panning out where even as of 1st April, we had a deficit of 1,761 megawatts of power to be shared. And what you realize is that this is more than what Akosombo even brings on board. And if I can tell you, this is about 3 times what Akosombo has been producing on average in the last 1 month. So you definitely will see that Akosombo not coming on stream within this last 4 or 5 days isn't the reason why we are facing this challenge. March data is telling you that we had a crisis in March. April is telling you we had a crisis in April. And if you look at just a day before the outage or the fire outbreak at the Akosombo substation, this was our situation. It had improved a little bit, but we had about the average supply being around 3,141, and our deficits around that time, even when the fire wasn't there, just 24 hours before the fire, we had a deficit of 1,159 megawatts to share.
Government of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia did not leave behind a broken sector without solutions. They left behind the Energy Sector Recovery Program, which we call the ESRP. The ESRP had been negotiated with the IMF as a structural benchmark under Ghana's Extended Credit Facility. It had specific timelines, specific targets, and specific commitments. It was not a wish list. It was a working plan, agreed with international partners and designed to be implemented with urgency. What did the Mahama government do with this inheritance? It delayed, it diluted, it rebadged the crisis as a maintenance program. It's renamed Doomso as upgrades, and it presided month after month over the financial strangulation of the very infrastructure upon which millions of Ghanaians depend. The data available to us is that government owes IPPs over $500 million. And over $200 million to companies that supplied fuel for power generation. We call on the government to come clear on the financial situation in the sector, particularly after the imposition of the Doomso levy. If any official is to face scrutiny, let that same scrutiny fall on the energy minister and on this president. For it is their ministry, their policy choices, and their disdain for the ESRP that created the conditions under which critical national infrastructure has been allowed to deteriorate. The Gridco CEO did not delay the ESRP. The ECG Ashanti management did not accumulate or refuse to clear the IPP payment backlog. The government did.
So they say in adversity is opportunity, because now that this adversity has happened, it makes it, gives us an opportunity to replace with it a more modern control room that will serve this Akosombo plant and let it work for more generations yet unborn. And so I told the minister I was coming here to see for myself the work you had done. He's briefed me. You have 4 of the turbines back on, and he says that you're working another miracle and that I'll get good news soon with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done, and we encourage you to continue to work. VRA will continue to be one of the foremost state-owned enterprises, and Gridco and VRA, both of you, you are among the foremost twins of the same mother, Gridco and VRA, and we know that you continue to work, and every support government can give you will continue to.
Let's come back to.
Okay, excerpts there of what transpired throughout the week with the president there saying there's an opportunity now, he says. Okay, so what are the opportunities? And if there are opportunities, why do we still have the minority in parliament raising concerns about this? Joining me this morning, we have Lom Nuku Ahnija, who's a lecturer at GIMPA. He's also an energy expert. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Then we have Awal Mohammed. He's a member of the National Communications team for the New Patriotic Party. Fortunately, we have him this weekend in Accra for good reasons. Yeah. If he's not in Kumasi, then, of course, we then have him. We're able to share him with your critical assets, both in Accra and in Kumasi. Or is it because of Doom? So that's why you're not going to Kumasi?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
It's not because of Doom.
So there's no Doom then, is it?
Well, there is, because countrywide, you've not had stability. And again, yesterday I was on Adom TV, and Roxon was called.
Okay.
And he said, at least in the next 3 days, I'm sure he's given up to Monday, that there will be stability. So it means there is doom. So, but where I live here in Accra, from yesterday up to today, I had light. I live around Ofanko, and I had light, yes.
So there's no problem then. Why should the minority in parliament be worried about what's going on?
Thank you so much, and good morning to our cherished viewers. And bring you greetings from the incoming president of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. I think when you say there is no problem, then you as a host will have to ask the questions. But you know, there are challenges. And these challenges didn't really start only a week or 2 weeks ago. These are challenges that started way back last year. And the government...
Last year?
Yes, the government...
Or the year before last year?
Last year. The government communicated to us early last year that there will be doom, so there should be some mitigation towards it. That was the reason in June last year, they imposed what we call the Doomso levy, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the Amendment Act. In Parliament, the majority leader said, you pay 1 cedi per so that you not see Doomso again. You get it? That's the reason I'm telling you that. They gave us that...
he says it will never happen again?
Exactly. He said,
again.
You not see Doomso again. So it means, indeed, they envisage the challenges and they know that there will not be any justification to switch our lights off unless maybe they are not able to buy crude and gas, because we have enough generation capacity to power our thermals, and again, to get the Ghanaian to get lights every day, even if 1 or 2 generation capacities are shut down. We'll still be able to do that because we have 5,600 installed capacity and at least a dependable capacity of around 4,600. And our peak demand ranges between 3,900 and 4,100. So we know that indeed they cannot really give the excuse of generation again because we are way above generation. So they told us that when you pay that 1 cedi, we'll be able to supplement. Some of us were of the view that why do you pay the 1 cedi when there are structural problems with ECG that you have to fix, so that at least the losses and other things will just be fixed. They will take their revenue and they'll be able to pay because we're paying for the electricity that we were using. Last year to this year, we're paying 24% increment on electricity alone. It was 28 and they knock off 4% just last month. So at least this month, right? No, last month, April. Yes, April. So we're now reeling under 24%. It means under Akufo-Addo, when you needed 100 cedis to really use for a month, under President Mahama, you have to get 124 cedis to do that. Then we're paying 1 cedi as well. So we felt that it is really unconscionable to switch off our lights. When you check the daily
who's switching it off?
The government. Because
I think it's not really the case. You saw the fire outbreak, right?
Before the fire outbreak, daily graphic from January up to today were giving us updates on places that they were switching off from January. And again, fortunately, we're on Joy here, Joy Prime. Joy News had done independent checks to find out that even from January up to today, we're shedding over 1,000 that we do not have. And the key reasons are that Gas that supplied us with the gas through the West African gas pipeline had the debt of around $70 million that we're not paying. And it's one of the reasons. Again, some of the thermal plants are running zero because they do not have crude to fire. Then others were doing 64, 70. It is only car power that was doing 100% even before the Akosombo fire. And again, you see, as I said, even if Akosombo is knocked off, we still shouldn't have any justification to switch off the light, because Akosombo only gives a dependable capacity of 900 megawatts because it's installed capacity.
Also, the point is?
The point is that the government, what the Ghanaian want is not really an explanation. What the Ghanaian want is to see his lights on, because he's paying enough to see the light on. And again, we do not have generation problem. What we have is how the government is able to manage the sector by trying to buy crude and gas to be able to do that. You remember last year in August, a member of the Energy Committee in Parliament, member of Parliament for Oforokro, raised a red flag and said that when Ghana Gas were doing their routine maintenance, they gave 28 companies opportunity to really do that work. It gave them the contracts to do the work. There is a company called Blue Wave. They gave them a contract to really service one of the machines. They destroyed it because they use a chemical that is not really sweet.
But let's not make claims that we're not able to.
No, you see, I'm saying that
right now.
When he said that, they said it was speculative. 3 weeks ago, both Gridco, Ghana Gas, and VRE came with a joint statement to say that that particular thing has been destroyed and they had to replace it. Right. So they were not also doing up to the capacity they were supposed to do. You understand? So there are incompetent issues around what is happening today. And that is the reason we're calling on the government. You took us 1 cedi for the purpose of buying crude and so on. And now independent checks by media houses are saying that you're not buying the crude. So come and render accounts and tell us. Because you see, when that law was being passed, they told us that even though by law, it's after a year that you do the rendering of the account. But they told us that that money will not even go into the consolidated account. They will separate it, and after every 4 months, they will give us updates. And we've been paying this for the last how many months? 8 months. We do not know the update. And again, when you take the data from MPA and the amount of really fuel that we have consumed within this period, we're expecting around 7 billion Ghana cedi. So the 7 billion Ghana, where did it go? Okay. So that is the problem. Even in 2015, 2014, 2013, when Dumso was at its apogee, even at that time, there were explanations. So Ghanaians don't need any explanation.
They want action now.
It's our light so that we'll be able to really plan well, plan our lives well. Yeah. So that those who use electricity to also work will be able to. How? Someone who lives in Tema will come to his cold store in maybe, or his shop in Accra. And if he knows that indeed the place will go off, he will not even buy fuel and get to Accra and come and sit idle. He will live there. That's why we are calling.
But it's all soft now, is it?
Well, we do not know whether it is soft until maybe about after.
You don't believe the president when he would?
It is not the president because you see, look at the charade that happened when someone who
the energy minister says
someone who is supposed to go on retirement on the 27th of April. Then, just within days for his retirement, you say he's a step aside.
Okay, I'll come back to that.
When you are supposed to step aside,
let's do with the technical ones first. I'll come back to you on people stepping aside. Lom, tell us about. Is he right though by saying, well, this is much more a fuel issue?
Well, fuel obviously has an impact, but it's not the major thing. As Awal said, there are many dimensions to the energy sector, and particularly this one, I think that the terms we are using are a bit, if I should say, all over the place. Right. Because typically when we are talking about Dumso, we are talking about where you have a situation where there's a significant deficit, and because of that, you need to have a timetable, a program to cover the deficit so that people are aware. Well, if there's no timetable in that circumstance, then we are talking about a situation where, let's say, the state institutions or government and so on are not delivering on the mandate. But you see that from the various comments that we've been looking at, even from, let's say, January to date, it's more about challenges in specific areas. So, for example, where I live in East Legon Hills, don't have lights going off as much. But I know people who, for example, in other parts of Adenta, is an Adenta constituency, where, for example, they are around maybe the ARS side or Ogbojo side, who say, my lights go off literally every day. So there's a challenge as to location as well as, some, let's say...
So it's uneven?
Yes, uneven. It's uneven, yes, because some areas seem to have greater challenges in terms of having their lights being off and so on. So that is one of the key things. And when it is localized, you know that it is not from the grid. Because GridCo, in charge of the grid, if they have a challenge, it has a wider impact. So for example, the Akosombo issue with this fire, you see that significant portions of the country were off because that is a grid issue, that national grid issue. But when it is localized, it means that it is a distribution issue. So ECG within its enclave may have some challenges elsewhere. Now we know that the conversation around that has been about how to solve those localized problems by doing a transformer upgrade. So, well, that's a technical solution, and I believe that all those areas where they're having those issues is because the transformers are tripping. There's no reason why when generating companies are supplying power, that your area should be going off frequently. The only reason will be because your transformers are tripping because there's either overload or maybe there's an issue with the transformer and so on. And your area repeatedly going off means that you have a challenge there. So it has to be dealt with, which I understand ECG is saying they are dealing with. So that is on the localized side of things. But as Awal said, and I'm agreeing in terms of this generally because the Ghana energy sector has a significant financial dimension. And you see that even, for example, in the last budget, which was read last year, before the end of the year, you see that a lot of, we got a lot of information about IPP payments, renegotiation of IPP power purchase agreements with ECG, paying of, sovereign insurance guarantees to ensure that there's power and so on. There's a huge financial dimension to it. It's about payments of money and so on. And we already have a legacy debt situation as well. So it is also the case that so long as the financial aspects are having challenges, there will also be issues with the power sector, which, as we stand today, we are better off in terms of payments than before. The reason is because, let's say, for example, the cash waterfall mechanism today is operating better than it used to in the past, which means that the various stakeholders in the power sector are getting paid better than they were paid.
But Awal disagrees on that score.
On the cash waterfall, I don't think Awal would decide. No, he would not do that. No,
No, but you said the sentiment of the minorities, isn't it?
Yes, he talked about money.
So that's why,
And I think but Awal's point is more about the D-levy and accountability for that. But generally, in terms of payments in the energy sector, there's better payments today than in the past, as far as the cash waterfall is concerned. The cash waterfall, which I'm sure you know, and perhaps many Ghanaians also aware of this, is essentially the framework or mechanism that allows for the monies collected by ECG to be equitably paid to the various stakeholders. You recall that, for example, when this current government took office, there was a report or audit that was done by PwC of ECG. You recall that there was let's say an outcome or a finding that there were over 80 something bank accounts for ECG. You recall? I don't know if you recall. Yes.
That was a smart way of avoiding the whole automated payment.
Yes, and not only that, it means that there was a very fragmented way in which their monies or revenue was being handled. Whereas
but the former ECG manager says, well, it was part of the plan, just to
yes, of course,
try and still find some liquidity to work with.
Yes, that's my mate. I know, but the idea is that, and I also alluded to this, it is ECG that is the significant collector in the country. So if there's a challenge with collection, it will impact directly on all these financial dimensions that I've talked about. But not only that, when you have several accounts, what it means is that there may be lack of visibility on some of the things that essentially, or let's say some of the revenue that comes into ECG for purposes of paying the various players. So what the mechanism does is to centralize, all collections come into a centralized account and all the stakeholders get a fair share, rather than it be at the discretion of ECG. So as we sit here today, in terms of the cash waterfall, there's better payments, and IPP debts also have reduced significantly, as we know from the last budget, and also the renegotiation of the power purchase agreements with various IPPs to make for better payment terms and so on. So you will see that, for example, in the last year, we haven't had major threat by IPPs that will shut down, something that we also used to experience. So I would say that as we discuss this issue of doomsaw, doom CAC or whatever, it is not a widespread rolling blackouts.
Really? So are we out of the woods then? Is doomsaw over?
Well, as far as the Akosombo situation is concerned, I think that the 4 out of the 6 port lines are back. That's a significant addition. But of course, it's not all of it because we still have 2 to go. The solution that Gridco...
But the energy minister tells us that everyone... No, all of them are back on stream, isn't it?
That's what he said. Now,
that's what he says.
Since yesterday. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right. So yes, it means that to a significant extent we are back to where we were before the fire.
Back to normalcy or back to...
Back to normalcy, because as I'm saying, before the fire that occurred in Akosombo, issues about not having power localized. It wasn't a widespread situation.
It was the Ashanti region, to the extent that the ECG boss had to go and even apologize. That was last month.
Yes, but
indeed, there were a lot of challenges with the Ashanti region.
No. So you see, Ashanti region has had a peculiar problem. So the way in which power is consumed has an impact on how you do, let's say, your design, your plan, and so on. So in Ghana, the fact is that it is Greater Accra and Ashanti region that are your biggest consumers. Right. So you recall a couple of years ago, Ameri was moved to Kumasi. Yeah. Why? Because technically it's good if the generation is closer to the center of consumption. Not only that, we also have the AXA plant, new AXA plant that is also being built in Kumasi now. It's the reason why the Gensa project to take gas directly from the south to Ashanti region is being done. Not only that, even currently, I know that there are plans to increase generation capacity in Kumasi because consumption is in Greater Accra significantly and Ashanti region. So you take generation closer. Historically, Ghana, almost all our generation has been in the southern part of the country. So apart from Agosobo and Kpong in the Volta side, essentially all our plants are in Tema and Abuazi. You see, so the Kumasi has a peculiar problem because since it's a significant load center, you have to invest more in generation there, which is why now we have 2 power plants there, but it's not adequate. Still, additional investments have to be done. So we might continue to have Ashanti region specific issues until that has been permanently dealt with. Yes, because that's a technical thing. You need to invest more in generating plants there. And the reason why, as historically we've had our plants on the coast is because they are closer to where the ports are. If you have to import gas before, now we have our own gas, associated gas with our Jubilee field, you know, and so on and so forth. So now we have let's say, Ghana gas supplying those plants along the coast. And then, of course, we have Nigeria also through. So, but that's the whole point. Ashanti region needs more investments as far as generation is concerned to reduce the
and as you can see, joining us this morning, Hamza Suhuyini, he's a member of the NDC's National Communications team. We have Solomon Owusu, Communications Director, United Party Plus.
Where's it?
NDC...
Hey.
3 or 2. It's scandalous.
Never in your life. Never in your life.
I won't dream about it.
Don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can add annex to him.
You want to add what?
Annex, NDC annex.
Can we just deal with Doomsday now? So we'll do the needful. I don't want trouble this morning. Hamza, let me start on because
these are your copies, man.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Free of charge.
Yeah, by the way, it's a book written by
yes.
It's on. I love it. It's on Ghana's energy sector.
When I opened,
that's good.
Yeah,
I read something that I have never really dreamt of. The Senate. I didn't know it belongs to Senate.
Yeah.
But I saw it here.
Oh, that's good.
So you have a new book.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Hamza, here we are.
Yes.
Awal says it's a leadership problem. So the deficit we're having in the Ashanti region, let's spin it on the leadership.
Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleagues in the studio, and of course my own senior, Lom, and of our cherished viewers as well, and those who have joined us in the studios today. You see, I have always argued that when it comes to the energy sector, we have allowed the NPP so many years of latitude to continue to box in their own created bubble of deception in terms of the commitments they have demonstrated as far as the sector is concerned. And that has been the problem, even if you take into account the current outages. First of all, when this government assumed office, we were quite candid to the good people of this country. Even if you participated in the National Economic Dialogue Forum that was organized, one of the towering challenges government kept on hammering on had to do with the failure of investments in the energy sector and the crippling debt that threatened the viability of that sector from day one. We did not hide that from the good people of this country. Indeed, even in the president's first State of the Nation address, he alluded to the crippling debt crisis that apparently was challenging the sector. And we did so not just because of what we came to meet, but because of the investments we know we championed between 2014, 2015, and 2016, when we had a major power crisis in this country. That was occasioned not because of the John Dramani Mahama-led administration, but because of our years of failure to invest in that sector collectively. Right. Now, His Excellency decided to accept that responsibility and drove investments in the sector that led to plans like Ameri, that in the run-up to the 2024 election, they had to quickly move to Kumasi to prevent an embarrassment. And I heard him make...
Oh, that's what they were doing?
Of course. Without Ameri, Kumasi would have gone through the whole of 2024 with intense power outages. But thanks to the investment architecture that was built under the NDC regime, they were able to rely on that. Now, you see, to the current outages, unlike them, despite the challenges we enumerated upon assumption of office,
we accepted responsibility and we moved swiftly into action. Apart from the generation capacity that we drove, we also ensured financial sustainability and viability in the sector through the introduction of ESLA. So one aspect of it had to do with generation, another had to do with ESLA in terms of the financial support for the sector. Progressive thinking by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama at that time. Upon assumption of office, these guys, apart from their failure to invest in generation, they also depleted and abused proceeds that were meant to come in from ESLA to deal with the financial challenges.
Abuse, you say? Abuse?
Of course, they did. Remember that they collateralized it, ESLA, and got an excess of about 10 billion Ghana cedis, and only succeeded in using less than 4 billion or so to pay BDCs. Where did the rest of the 6 billion go? And it has been collateralized for 30 good years. And we raise these red flags. And when you speak with them, they say, oh, for 8 years, we're able to ensure a stable power supply. That is another lie. You see, you did not experience intense form of power outages during the 8-year period that they were in office because of the investments we did, which ended somewhere in 2016. Remember when they assumed office, they were making noise about excess capacity because the government had invested so much and projected for our demands in the future that they did not understand and decided to brand as excess capacity. But when the reality when the reality began unfolding, they saw the need of that excess capacity and they had to rely on a chunk of it to cope up with the increasing demand in the country. So they did not have to now conceive the idea of coming on board with new generational plans. You simply needed to unlock your excess to meet the increasing demand. That is progressive thinking. That is what governments ought to do.
But when they came in, it wasn't just an issue of generation. The liquidity challenge was still there.
But that is what I just indicated.
Yes.
We anticipated the liquidity challenge, but we provided a vehicle to deal with the liquidity challenge, and that had to do with ESLA. But because of the way they handled ESLA, they still had ongoing liquidity challenges. Because if you misappropriated funds that were meant to come from ESLA, definitely you have ongoing liquidity challenges. And that was the issue. And so if there is any leadership challenge that is causing Dumso, then that leadership challenge emanates from the failure in policy direction when the MPP was in power. It cannot be as a result of the less than 2 years presidency of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And so these facts ought to be carefully monitored. Again, we announced not long ago that we're changing transformers and that Ghanaians should expect some intermittent power outages in the process of doing so. Until the Akosombo Dam, and Senior Lom makes references to it, reference to that particular point. Until the Akosombo Dam, did we have this measure of intense outages, the fire outbreak? Absolutely not. We did not. But when the fire incident happened, we lost in excess of 1,000 megawatts of power. What that simply means is that whether we liked it or not, there would be intermittent outages. And that's why we experienced it. It was not simply because of the replacement of transformers that gave us that intense doomsday last week. It had specifically to do with that fire outbreak. And mind you, in 2024, they experienced doomsday. And when we demanded for doomsday timetable, what did they tell us? They told us to prepare our own timetable. But even at that time, if you look at the Gridco records, they were shading load in excess of 700 megawatts by 2024 December. 700 megawatts. And we have lost in excess of that as a result of the fire outbreak, 1,000 megawatts. So clearly, there will be intense power outages. But thankfully, the minister responsible for energy has announced that they have been able to bring back all the 6 turbines. And so electricity is in a measured way stable as we now have it. But you see, I listened to the press conference of the minority side of the House last week. And for me, it didn't come to me as a shock. Because then again, it manifested their continuous failure to appreciate the mess that they left behind. in that energy sector recovery plan that was read by, in that press conference read by their Deputy Minister for Energy, Honorable Collins Adomako, at the time, when they were in office, I think he was a Deputy Energy Minister. He indicated that the NDC government, the reason why we are having power outages has to do with the fact that we abandoned the energy sector recovery plan. For them, it had nothing to do with the fire outbreak of Akosombo that resulted in a loss of about 1,000 megawatts of power. It had nothing to do with transformer replacement. It was simply rooted in the fact that we failed to follow through their energy sector recovery plan. And then it begs the question, does he even understand the contours or the foundational pillars of that energy sector recovery plan that the World Bank aided them to implement? Because it revolves around four fundamental things. One had to do with renegotiation of the IPPs. Upon assumption of office, this government, the first move we made was simply to renegotiate IPPs. And as a result of that renegotiation, we saved the country in excess of $250 million. Compliant with their so-called energy sector recovery plan. The second thematic area of that recovery plan had to do with revenue mobilization. And again, my senior made references to it. We fully implemented the cash waterfall mechanism that moved the annual revenue in terms of power generation revenues of ECG from about 90 billion to 1.67 billion, about 90% increment for 2025.
900 billion to
1.6. Thank you for the correction. Because of our full compliance, and that is the second plank of the energy sector recovery plan. In terms of technical losses, we even brought in new meters. Remember, they sat on these shoes and described it as Usain Bolt meters because they were running fast.
Yeah, Awal was the one who described it as Usain Bolt.
Precisely. yet, and this was strictly in compliance. This was strictly in compliance with their energy sector recovery plan.
I see.
And the IMF agreement they reached. The agreement they reached with the International Monetary Fund in terms of sustainability as far as the energy sector is concerned. They sat on platforms of this nature. So oblivious.
This is not about leadership.
No. It is basically not about leadership. You cannot say that the problem we are having in the sector has to do with the NDC's leadership. Absolutely not. Indeed, it is the NDC's leadership that is actually providing solutions to the mess that we inherited. And so for me, when I listen to the MPP speak on these issues, and mind you, even the final point has to do with what we call the renegotiation of, the reprofiling of our debts, the legacy debts, which is the fourth plan. We have been able to renegotiate that. Now the legacy debts, we have reprofiled it. Instead of it ending somewhere in 2024, it now goes into 2028.
Right.
Because of our commitment to that energy sector recovery plan. So when you listen to them, they can be forgiven to make all the noise because for many of our compatriots out there, the energy sector appears a bit complex. And so the MPP can be forgiven to get away with all the lies and deception that they throw in the fold. But the good thing is that we have a very committed government and a party that is committed to ensuring that we continue to provide education to the Ghanaian people, especially when it comes to such vexed areas of energy. And finally, my brother, you see, for us, the preoccupation is how to ensure a sustainable power supply. We've done it before.
Okay.
And we will not be distracted by the noise of the MPP. We appreciate the cost implications on businesses when there are outages. We appreciate the implications on the health sector. We appreciate the implications of that even on the transport sector. And not just that, even government revenue. And that is the reason why this government will be committed to it. But in doing so, the MPP must do the most honorable thing of just keeping quiet, knowing the mess that they subject in the sector.
There's a conversation on the 500 million cities debt that the minority is talking about. Probably in the next round I'd ask you about it. But so let me pick your initial thoughts on the concern. I mean, you are a businessman as well. Have you been impacted by this recent outages?
Obviously, you were impacted. Let me greet you and greet Long thanks for the wonderful book.
Book,
the
yes.
packaging is very good.
Yes.
Ghana Energy Law and Policy.
Yeah.
I think it has to be recommended for every Minister of Energy so that you are well versed in this matter. And to our cherished university graduates who are suffering under the able leadership of baby boomers, those that went to university free of charge, but they are charging you. You must ask them questions.
So, but you went to university for free too, is it?
I didn't even, I paid.
Okay, you paid.
It was during our time that they started, we started
Fees,
Mobile
okay.
struggle, yeah, you know.
Okay.
How did I do so?
So you didn't take milk?
No.
Okay.
Because I never for them, but I did enjoy free.
You didn't have Mahama.
So,
Yeah, energy.
I went to even senior high school for free.
it's very clear that under the directive principles of state policy, Article 36 is so clear that the mandate of every government is to make sure that the economy is managed and managed well, so that all of us will be happy. That is the job of every government.
The government is to make you happy.
Exactly. And this is really so, because as I've been saying, if you go to Genesis 1:3,
Okay.
right there, the Creator said, "Let there be light." And indeed, there was light. So if you come into government and decide to turn that Genesis 1:3 to 3:1 and say, "Let there be darkness," and there is darkness, you want to fight against the Creator of this world. And that is why people take the issue of those very serious. And you remember, I've been an ardent supporter of that 1 cedi levy that they imposed.
Yes. In fact, you were defending it.
I defended it because the effect or the impact of doing so can never be compensated by anything. So I said the government was right in 2025 in introducing that levy to the extent that they will be using the proceeds of that levy to do what they promised the people of this country. You know, in 2025, the doing so rate is small, and that's what they brought in the 1 cedi. And once they brought it, it stabilized the system. So I was happy. And it's the reason why recently, when world market prices of oil was also going up, I insisted that I would never advise President Mahama to take off that levy. Because you see, the Ghanaian will cry, but leaders are put there not to take soft decisions. Not Microsoft. You have to take hardcore decisions. And that hardcore decision must always and always be in the interest of the people. Doomsday levy taken out and you experiencing doomsday. Which one do you like? You would prefer to pay the tax and get a light. So to that extent, we were on the right side. Now, I can understand the difficulty of my brothers in there. I've said that opposition is a marathon. We have stamina. Not that we will not punch NDC hard. We know when to strike. But when there is nothing to punch, you don't rush to punch. Either that, but the time that you have the actual punch, nobody will see that punch.
Absolutely, what are you saying? But the power generation had a challenge in the last
Which one is that? The power?
Oh, those outages. I mean, there were outages all over the place.
Beautiful.
That's
what I'm coming to. Outages.
Yes.
In Kumasi, that my brother was ferrying.
Yes.
Remember when Napo was asked, when are you bringing the Doomsday time? It was the same Kumasi that brought that issue up. In fact, the journalist asked him the question at Kumasi.
Yes. I recall.
You saw the cheeky answer he gave to that journalist. Because he didn't have an answer to that.
I guess he wasn't happy that we were asking for a timetable.
Because he realized that where he was, if he had said anything otherwise, the people of Kumasi would have chased him. They would have chased him. You understand? And to even make matters worse, they have told us, they've been telling us the last couple of days that, in fact, they procured the transformers, which even makes the matter so worse. You procured the transformers for what? Tourist attraction or what? You were supposed to replace obsolete equipment with modern day transformers that could, as it were, take on all the major loads. Even this is true, because I'm getting contrary opinion that even the transformers that they claim they brought were not, all of them were not procured by them.
Oh, Solo.
That's what I heard the spokesperson for the energy ministry. What's the name? Roxin or so. I heard him say, if he's lying, I'm lying.
Okay.
But I have no business.
Yeah, so you have no evidence on that.
Yes.
Let's proceed.
So they refused.
That is evidence.
Oh no,
Official
he gave the information.
Yeah.
But granted, they even bought it. Why did they why didn't they replace the transformers? Because they realized that if you decide to replace transformers, definitely there will be some load shedding, and they didn't want to be associated with that. Remember what I was in the MBB.
No, but if you just oppose that with what Napo said at the time, he said there was doom CACA.
What is the meaning of doom CACA?
That they were fixing the challenge. So if you're telling us that there was no replacement at the time,
so between 2014 and 2016, we're not fixing the challenge. Now we named it doom so. I mean, some of these jargons, forget about it. But the beautiful thing is that they shot themselves in the foot. I mean, the MPP. By even going to the extent of composing a song for this situation. And that's why I started by telling you that opposition is a marathon. You must have stamina. Here is a government that has come into office trying to fix your mess. And we are all seeing it. We must be doing politics that is truthful, honest politics. You understand?
Yeah.
You know very well that Akosombo, the control room, got bent. And they were telling you that they lost 1,000 megawatt. If I were them, just like the UP has been doing, we would rather wait for them to fix that 1,000.
So why do you want to decide for the MPP what they choose to?
They are destroying the business of politics. I mean, they are making our work in opposition very difficult. So difficult, because when they speak and we speak, it's as though we are at each other's throat, which must not be. There has to be a clear-cut strategy.
Why wouldn't you look at it this way? If the MPP had not come out,
why did they come out to
they wouldn't have held, the government to...
We are rather holding government accountable. We told the government that, look, fix it. It's your problem. You are now leading the charge. So the Minister of Energy came and addressed us and told us that, look, they were fixing it. Has he not come back to tell us that they have fixed it? What did the MPP do in this whole matter?
Yeah, because they raised the...
They never raised anything. They are worse off. They left a debt of 68 billion in the energy, in the electricity sector. So one was expecting that out of this 68 billion, you would see what we call generation infrastructure. Rather, there is nothing to show for it. They were only procuring cables. And I've been telling Hamza and their people that your inability to go after all those that looted is why you are suffering today.
You feel the sabotage in the system?
Oh, I mean, they just created the looted. But these people must go after those that did. I remember, PricewaterhouseCoopers carried out an auditor report on ECG in 2024 when they were suppressing income generation. That whereas they were reporting to the cash waterfall mechanism that they were generating 10.4 billion, their bank statement showed that they were actually generating 15 billion. So right there, somebody has pocketed 55 billion. So this must be investigated. Now, even what makes it worse... You
don't know that for a fact.
But if you are generating 15 billion, you see, sometimes don't let anybody confuse you with any technicalities.
Okay.
You collected 15 billion.
Yes.
To pay your debt. You came to declare to me that you got 10 billion. So where is the 5 billion? You tell me.
Probably a mistake.
Which one? They have not
transpositional errors in that code now.
If they come back to tell us that it was a transpositional error, then we will be dealing with that. But even worse off, the 10.4 billion that they declared to cash waterfall mechanism, they actually pay 6.5 billion. Right there too, a deficit of 3.9 billion. Do you need any superfluous brain to go after people in there? They are all butcher. Afenyoden. In Parliament.
You mean the minority leader now?
Yes, the minority. He told us that, look, cable stealing is the commonest thing that you could find at ECG.
I think you said that?
You didn't hear him?
No, I didn't hear him.
In Parliament, my goodness.
Stealing was the easiest?
Oh, so, you know when we were complaining about the missing containers? Yeah. Mr. Speaker, it's the commonest and the easiest thing.
No, I thought he was trying to demonstrate how over the years that
including his son. So we are all so right there should have been a commission of inquiry for him to explain.
To account and to prove.
Absolutely. Okay, right. But we did not do that. You understand? So when you have such political party that has created a mess in the sector, come to us and tell us that, look, these people are supposed to do what is right. It sometimes baffles our mind. What we have to do as a country, first of all, this administration, they have declared a 24-hour economy. Yeah. You cannot achieve that without power. You understand? So that therefore we don't need anybody to advise them to increase our generational capacity and also upgrade existing infrastructure. There has to also be a correlation between our development and our energy needs. In Accra here, you go to Kaswa and even East Legon Hills area, the way developments have sprung up. I ask myself whether the time country planning, before they issue any permit to anyone want to build, they do that in close collaboration with the Electricity Company of Ghana. Because if the Electricity Company of Ghana knows that in this area, the sort of buildings that are coming up, it will increase, they would then make adequate preparation. In fact, our building permit, there has to be a fee on it that would also go to ECG to be buying adequate transformers to take care of an area. Same with the Ghana Water Company. But there is that disconnect. That disconnect.
All right, Lomba, that's your area, I believe. But let's tie that into the issue about the debt, because that's what I want to find out from all of you. The minority is now making claims on, is it 500 million?
Yeah.
500 million. Where's that debt coming from? Does it even exist in the first place?
And the specific debt, I'm not sure. Which one is the 500 million? IPPs.
Yes, and then 200 million.
That debt is much bigger than that. But as I said, if you look at historically,
I think they're trying to tie that to this government, that just upon coming into office alone. I think 500 to the IPPs, 200 to the... They're saying it's a fresh
that cannot be.
That's their claim.
No. Well, so
the minority in parliament.
Well, I haven't heard specifically what the 500 million is in reference to, so I'm not sure that's what it is. But as I think I alluded to earlier on, the energy sector has legacy debt, which has existed for years. I mean, you know, we've got...
But this one that they are talking about, they claim it's fresh. They're tying that to government.
I don't know where that...
we just played the tape. We can get that for you again. But that's the claim they are making now. And then I'm sure maybe Awal has...
maybe he has more.
Awal, you have the figures?
Yes, it's to the IPPs.
Okay, so where is that figure coming from?
The IPPs have supplied, and they are supposed to. The government is supposed to pay.
Right. So that's his explanation.
Okay.
For that.
So
is it?
The source of that figure, where is it come from?
Are you shocked? Are you shocked?
No, but you have to ask why the source of.
Okay.
Which one is the right?
So as to whether there's a $500 million debt that has accrued fresh. In other words, from 7th January 2025 up to today, I cannot confirm that figure.
You doubt the range, if it like 500, they say.
Well, that's but let me tie it in this way.
Right.
First of all, we already had, or we've discussed, I'm sure, variously about the collections. And I mentioned the fact that the reason why we or at least one of the reasons why we have a significant financial challenge in the sector is because collections don't match up to. And I tied it to the fact that presently the cash waterfall mechanism is delivering better in terms of paying to the stakeholders. Right. But there's still a challenge. The challenge is that, and I'm sure you know this, about 25% of power that is generated, which is ultimately supplied, is lost. Right. That is the losses that come in the system. And in that losses, we are talking about 10% for technical and 15% for non-technical, which we call commercial losses, which in plain language is theft or some form of diversion. So what it means is that if you generate 100 cedis worth of electricity,
you're losing
25 cedis. You only be left with 75. So there is always a deficit. And we already have the legacy there, which means that we have debt already. And this 25 cedis will be adding, compounding. So how do you deal with it? You deal with it by, for example, like a levy, what we are calling the D-levy, for example, is one of the ways in which you reduce it. You have IPPs that have signed contracts with ECG and various off-takers. The terms can be renegotiated to make them better, which last year there was renegotiation of power purchase agreements to make them better in terms of terms, payment. So that is one of the ways. Apart from that, also, obviously, you need to fix the losses issue so that you reduce the 25 to 20, 15. hopefully you can get to maybe 5% because as for the technical, there's no way you can avoid it 100% and so on. So for so long as the energy sector is the way it is, and then of course I've also talked about the cash waterfall mechanism, which is if you are paying them proportionally, it still means there will be a gap because the collection is not 100%. So no matter what, even though we are clearing debt from the past, there'll still be debt that is accruing. So it's about how effective,
and that will be because of the system, how it's
how
designed
the system is and all of that.
Right.
So it's about how effective your mechanisms are. And I mentioned, for example, in the last budget, in terms of reduction of payment of the legacy debt, a significant portion, or at least what was done last year was a more significant reduction of the debt than previously. That's one. Besides that, also, one of the things that secures the energy sector financial arrangements is the guarantees that you get from institutions like African Development Bank and so on, which essentially is an insurance backing payments, which are depleted essentially to near zero, which means that you couldn't fall on it. That has been fully paid up as well. So beyond that, I'm saying that it is always the case that some debt to be accruing, but the debts historically have been within some ranges. So you see that in the past, we've had maybe IPP, Chamber of IPP issue statement that if you are not paid by this day,
we'll just go.
It doesn't mean that even when they are not issuing those statements, they are not being owed. They are owed, but the servicing of the debt is the servicing and then the level of payments and so on. So for so long as the payments continue, at least the IPPs are kept at bay. So if today we are saying that IPPs are owed 500 million, 700 million, I don't know how much specific amount figures we are talking about. It is not a novel thing. It's not new.
Let me take your thoughts on privatization. Is this the time that we needed much more? Because we've been there before, don't forget.
Yes. Not privatization wholly. Okay. My personal view is to do participation, private participation. And I think a lot of the conversations that have gone around this matter in the last decade have also been around that point, which is private participation. So, for example, the PDS deal that did not go through eventually was a participation. So ECG was still in the picture, owning the distribution assets and handling maintenance and so on. But then PDS was to take over the operational, commercial aspect of it. And it is a good idea for us to explore at this time because you see this 25% we are talking about. When you are engaging, of course, ECG as a public institution can also be given targets to do that. But we've seen the records in the last decade that it hasn't significantly dealt with the issue. So if, for example, you are engaging a private player to come into that space, you can set a target of how you reduce that 35% will tie to some kind of compensation arrangement. And you know, private people are looking for money, so they'll find solutions and mechanisms for that. But I also know that presently the discussion around the private participation is to look at breaking up the ECG area into smaller concessions because ECG is in charge of the entire southern sector of Ghana. Apart from the free zones enclave, which is under enclave power, the southern part of Ghana is under ECG's mandate, and it's a huge area. All these things we are discussing today about transformer upgrades and how long it will take and when was procured and so on. ECG has a huge assignment. So perhaps
that's when participation
is allowing other players to come in terms of handling different segments of the ECG concession area can be considered. So it should be discussed fully. We've seen that trade union congresses, as you know, they are resisting. They've issued statements, they've talked about how and so on. But the truth is that the results show that ECG alone is not delivering on it. And that there should be a need for private players to also be part of the conversation.
Well, do you have the figures now? Yes. What was it, 500 million?
Yes, it's even 700 million.
Oh, not even 500.
$700 million. And you see...
what's the source? I mean, can we probe the figures?
So in January, Joy News reported, before even January, we heard what they said, that they had cleared all the IPP debt that they have.
Who said that?
Who said the finance minister.
No, I'm just asking.
Last year.
Who said that?
In December last year. the finance minister,
No,
said
When?
that he had cleared December. He said he had paid 1.7 billion.
No,
Oh,
Cleared.
are you- are you- are you-
Yes, 1.4.
Are you saying
1.4 billion
he cleared,
Yes,
or he
so
cleared,
1.4.
or he paid
1.4.
part
He
or
said he has
service?
cleared it.
Not all. Not all.
Awal,
Listen.
Awal, you need
So
to
why
explain
will you
to
ask
us.
me a question and you interject me and allow people
Because
to
you are lying.
Why must I lie?
You just
a bit
it's
of
a lie.
Okay, Awal, with just a bit of clarity.
It's a lie.
Did the finance minister say he cleared everything?
What did he say?
No, but you know what he said. You were telling us he said it.
I said,
Yeah.
they said their obligations to the IPPs, they had cleared it. And
Everything.
they had paid 1.4. I'm coming. They had paid 1.4.
1.4, okay, right.
When the shortfalls started in January, where the generation became a challenge,
Yes.
when Telegraphic was doing the announcement that they are knocking off places 2 hours, 3 hours, and so on, Joy News independently checked
Okay.
that there are still legacy debt of $300 million. And that is the reason we, in minority, are saying that from January up to today, we know 200 billion has been added to that 300 billion that Joy News, that independent.
So how does that
verification.
add it to? How does that make
So
it
that is-
500 for government?
Yeah, that is 500. I said that. As of January, it was 300 million, which was corroborated by Joy News Isaac Kofi J. You can cross-check.
Yeah, hold on.
That was in
300
January.
million was not as a result of your tenure? Because in January, if you're
Yes.
talking about January...
Yes, that is, it was really...
Because
No,
if
I'm
you're
saying
talking
that.
about January...
You see, he's become a stammerer by force. Is it?
Can you clarify?
He has
I
become
want
a
you to
stammerer.
clarify that.
The reason is that the host
that
is
a
not
stammer?
allowing me to flow.
I just want to...
No, that's not the reason. The host will not allow me to flow. How do I...
Well, I'll give you the
Hold
time.
on.
But I just
Let
want to
me
understand
also...
what
I'm
you're
saying that.
Yes. January,
I'm saying
which
that.
time? Which time
As
was
at
it?
January, about 6th or 7th of January.
Okay.
I don't know the check.
2024?
2026.
Oh, this year.
This year, January 2026.
So we can check. We can
You
check.
can check.
Okay.
January 2026. Joy News reported
Yes.
that indeed there are outstanding debt with the IPPs, which is around 300 million. And we're telling you that between January and today, it has even accumulated to 500 million to IPPs alone and 200 million to the suppliers of fuel. And it's the reason we have written an RTI report
Okay.
to request for this thing.
For what?
And that was what they said.
What were you asking?
For the information that indeed they should tell us the debt that is there for the IPPs to be cleared and the fuel suppliers. So we did a press conference.
You wrote
I'm
the
saying
RTI asking for updates on the debt. Yet you
Update.
believe at the same time that
our
it's 500 million.
Our checks and everything to point to the fact that indeed it is 500 million. And I told you that from the trajectory of even an independent media house saying that there was a 300 million as of January. And we're saying that our checks is that we have 500 million debt to the IPPs.
But the RTI is not about
coming.
the
Why
RTI is
will
not
you-
about
you
debt.
see-
It's
you see
about
the reason
deal.
one Ghana
It's
cedi
about the
levy.
one cedi. That that's why I'm asking you the
I
question.
am saying that
The
if you
RTI
have
is about
watched
the D levy.
it is not.
Wow.
It is not. The RTI by the deputy chief whip is on the 1 cedi Dumso levy.
Yes. No. So
There
that's
is an
different.
ITI by our energy members of the energy committee, which the MP for Overthrow is spearheading. That indeed there is an.
Is that new?
Yes, it's new.
Okay.
Did you listen to the press conference?
Yeah, I'm referring to that same press
Exactly,
conference.
so I'm
The
saying
RTI
that.
is for the D levy, not for
No, no.
not for the legacy.
RTI is by Habib, and that is for D
Which one
levy.
too is D levy?
This one, the Dumso levy, the energy sector recovery levy, the 1 cedi.
of the
You
There's
understand?
now, I don't know if any D levy. I know there's a one
I'm
Ghana
saying
cedi
that.
one.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
saying
that's what
that
we're-
RTI is
that's
separate from that press conference. That press conference,
Okay.
it was addressed by the members of the Energy Committee in Parliament,
Okay, right.
and they enumerated issues. And under it, that they said that data available to us suggest that there is a 500 million debt with the IPPs and 200 million with fuel suppliers.
Okay, let me just
And
refer to-
we will be happy that indeed the government comes to clear to tell us that indeed this is not true. That is one. Two is that, you see, when you talk about the general debt at
Yeah, but our research team is just pointing to us that The finance minister still acknowledges that there's still an outstanding debt of 700 million. He's already acknowledged that.
So then it means.
No, but you said here that he told us he has cleared
all the debt.
So what I'm saying is that he said he has cleared debt as at December. You understand? It was December that he said he has cleared the debt, and he said 1.4 billion. And I'm saying that we are saying that the debt is not only to IPP.
Yeah, but this is coming from my joy online.
I'm saying that the entire debt is not for only IPP. The 1.4 that he cleared was not for IPP.
I get that.
There are other debts that they are supposed to clear. The energy sector debt is not only for IPPs. It's not only just the IPPs that you pay the energy.
Awal, so if we should believe your figure, no, and Awal, calm down when I ask the questions, okay? I'm just asking questions so that you.
Don't allow Awal to gaslight you with this. Why losing the match and pretend as though it's something.
At least it's not a baby boomer. Just allow him.
What are we talking about here?
No.
Hamza has raised a lot of issues. Yeah, I want to even address those.
You use the whole time. Being a stammerer.
When you make it.
That's the whole problem. You use the whole time.
Because he's interjecting me.
No, because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't even understand the sector you are speaking on. That's why you are being a stammerer.
That's true.
That's the whole point.
If you have, this is my question to you, and I will interject you. Okay, if indeed you have control over the figures,
why are you doing this to our?
How do we have control over the figures?
You said
we are in opposition.
No, you said you.
What we're saying is that our information.
But let me ask the question so that you respond. I'll stop soloing everyone. My question to you is, Awal, if you are confident that the debt accrued now is 500 million, why are you still writing an RTI to seek for full disclosure on the 500?
Yeah, because the person holding the entire document is the Ministry of Energy.
Okay.
They will give. We are saying that we in opposition are raising issues. And the issues we are raising is that there are 300 million from January, and by now it has ballooned to 500 million to the IPPs alone. And there's another 200 million to fuel suppliers. Okay. And we have raised it in Parliament, say that this is it. So the government should respond or come clear. If the government is not responding, we write an ITI to get the information so that we put it out.
But
that's what we are doing.
The figure is higher than the 700 million already acknowledged by the finance minister.
The 700 million is not for IPPs alone. Check.
But that's what you just said. You said
I'm saying that the 700 million that was acknowledged by the finance minister.
Yes.
Did he say only IPPs?
Yeah, but it's making your point, isn't it? Because
it is not, because what
you said 500
I am talking
million
about
is going to IPPs, 200 to other issues. You just said that. If you add that, that's 700 million USD.
The 700 million USD he is talking about
is different.
It's not really what we are talking about.
Okay.
Because he said it is the energy sector debt legacies.
All right.
It is different. It is different, different from this one. Again, you see, when we took over in 2017, we felt that indeed there was huge debt, around $2.5 billion dollars. That was the debt we met, and we met the Energy Sector Recovery Levy Act. And we were supposed to implement it and take their monies. At that time, looking at the amount of money accrued, 2.1 billion, we will have to really get money to pay VRA and others so that we'll be able to really get the lights on. And that was the reason we had to collateralize the ESLA so that we can take that money to knock off and be able to really keep the lights stable. That was what we did. And again, you see, when we came, we met excess capacity that he talked about. That is true. You signed a take or pay agreement that every year we're paying over $500 million to capacities that were not generated within use.
I thought John Amewu had said he was doing away with the take or pay agreements. And that
how do you take away with how do you do away with all the takeaway? You can't do that. It's an agreement that we made.
But this was during your.
I'm saying that he didn't say that. He said we were trying to renegotiate.
That's
those
what
who
he
had
said,
not started,
because
those who had not started will do away with those who had not started.
Right.
But those who had started, you can't do anything about it. That was the reason we had to do Amandi and other power plants for them to continue so that they will be able to bring it on. Every year at that time, we were paying $500 million to really idle plants that we were not using.
Yeah.
Car power alone, we gave them over 300 million.
But Awal, you recall that you made an attempt. In fact, a delegation was sent to Dubai, I recall.
Yes.
To renegotiate.
Yes.
And you came...
That's not
No, I know, but I'm talking about the take or pay you had challenges with during your tenure. You recall you returned from Dubai with...
This is not really take or pay. This is a Mary.
Okay.
Mary came in as an emergency plan.
All right. Okay. Let me.
You understand? So we felt that it was just on a high side, and we decided to renegotiate. It has nothing to do with the IPPs.
Okay.
And again,
let me just bring in Hamza, then I'll come back to you.
No, come back.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you giving all the time?
He wants to learn. Let him learn so that. Yeah.
I'm saying we said that we did not do a lot of.
No. So just
when we came in, our problem was not generation. We felt that it is distribution, and we
why was it not generation?
Because
we resolved the generation.
You didn't resolve it. You didn't resolve it. You didn't resolve it because at the time you were living, it was 3,700 megawatts of installed capacity that we met. So I should be interjecting him as well. Let me land. I'm saying that when we came, that was what we did. And again, we were able to really work and install bulk distribution points. The one in Pokwasi is the biggest in this country, 504 MVA, and again the one in Kaswa, and the one in Anwasu in Kumasi. So the distribution, we invested heavily in distribution, and we brought in the transformers and so on. So you see, the thing is that you give me opportunity to speak, but you interject me. You allow them to interject me, and you. How do I land?
Soga, you see.
Awal, calm down. Yeah.
Soga.
Okay.
No, but.
I know. Let's allow Hamza to also say a few words.
You are going to go back to him.
Solo, I'll give you the time.
The interesting thing is that around this table, I'm sure that those who are monitoring us knows the political party that has a handle when it comes to our energy sector crisis. And the political party that clearly, as manifested even by one of their lead communicators in the studios, seem not to have an appreciation of that sector. So even if you do not have an appreciation of that sector, resolving challenges in that sector would be quite obvious because you would not be able to resolve these challenges. And that is what has been manifested around this table. First of all, the minister responsible for energy indicated that as at last year, 2025, we had paid in excess of $1.4 billion to the energy sector debts, as far as the debts are concerned. These are the facts. It was not stated anywhere that we had been able to retire all the debts in 1 year. Clearly. That is why my brother was being a stammerer.
Yeah, but he says that the finance minister had cleared...
No, but you just indicated that even the finance minister and even their own press conference held by the minority, they are not claiming that the finance minister had indicated that he had cleared all.
Awal is saying that.
It is Awal who is projecting these lies. And that's the point I'm making. It's an obvious lie.
No.
That's one. Two, you need to appreciate the constraints within which even government found money to do so. We have done so at a time that we're even still locked out of the international capital markets because of the reckless management of the economy by them. Government had to look within, had to cut excess expenditure, fine-tune government expenditure to be able to retire these debts in a matter of 1 year. When they were faced with a similar challenge in 2017, they had to rely on loans through the collateralization of ESLA to raise 10 billion.
Yeah, but he just justified that to you.
Please. They had to rely on, what's the name, ESLA, that John Dramani Mahama created as a foresight solution to our energy sector challenges. For 30 years, to be able to raise 10 billion. We have not gone to any international capital markets. We were able to raise that $1.4 billion internally in a matter of a year. Prudent management of the economy, even reflecting in the way we are dealing with the cost as far as the energy sector is concerned.
But if you build up 1.4 and you still owe, as they're saying, minorities say now, 500 million.
Don't let us engage in pedestrian analysis.
You don't agree with what the minority is saying.
Listen.
This is from the minority in parliament.
The minority is saying that we still have about 700 million Ghana.
So if you offset 1.4 and you still owe 700, you've undone.
What are you talking about?
That's what they say, 700.
And that is the point I'm making, that I have not heard them.
Okay.
I haven't.
Oh, we just played.
Maybe you can play it.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that even if they make that assertion, it manifests clearly their failure to appreciate how that sector works and why for 8 years they were unable to do anything meaningful in that sector. No government. We have not been able to retire all the debts they subjected government to in the last 8 years. And they expect us to retire all the debts or commitments in a matter of 1 year, especially when they signed a domestic debt exchange program. And that's why I demonstrated in my initial submission that even the minority that addressed that press conference clearly did not even have an appreciation of the very energy sector recovery plan they themselves implemented. Because if they did, they wouldn't have held that careless press conference, and reckless one at that. Because it exposed the poverty of appreciation in the politics of the MPP as we speak today. No wonder we are now being told that there's a virtual MPP and there's a real MPP. Because the confusion is simply nauseating. And the lack of appreciation of national issues, troubling. And you see, let me give you a detail of what we did. Remember, there was a partial risk guarantee of about $500 million that the NDC secured for the Sankofa partners, intending to more or less attract investments in excess of $8 billion into the energy sector. Sugar, remember?
Right.
When these guys came into office, they depleted that $500 million partial risk guarantee.
If you say they depleted,
it took this NDC government less than 1 year to be able to pay back that guarantee. As we speak today, that guarantee has been fully settled, $500 million.
Plus.
And in excess of $350 million has been paid to Vitol and ENI for gas supplies.
Okay, can you make disclosure then on the figures? Because you seem to be doubting what the minority says. I'm just referring.
When have I doubted?
Oh, you
I am questioning
the 200.
I have not doubted their claims. I'm questioning the poverty of their rationale.
And you were interjecting me when I was explaining.
Please.
When I was explaining, you were interjecting me. I told you. You even mentioned 500 million.
All of
Can Hamza, what's the full disclosure then from the perspective of government? Just
full disclosure about what?
About the level of debt at least accumulated in this first 18 or 20 months of the NDC administration.
But you have done your own research and you said that we have in excess of about 200. No. So if you add it to the 500, seated here,
right,
we will make 500 million.
Yeah, but that would be a project. I know, but
that's a projection.
Yes. But what's the disclosure?
But from even if government makes, look, the energy sector is not a static sector; it's a continuum.
Yes, obviously.
So if you are clearing debts, some will be accruing. But it depends on the financial engineering you have in place to be able to ensure that you deal with the legacy debts we are talking about. So even if in 1 year you have cleared in excess of $1.4 billion and accrued new debts of $200 million, that is progress.
Yeah, but does that not point to what minority is saying? That as of now, they have a strong belief that you've accumulated 700 million more.
No. That's not okay.
Let me come with an information. This is what
information from where?
Yes, from the finance minister. From the finance minister.
Why must you be sitting here?
They said he had cleared on the finance minister's website.
What's your source?
On the finance minister's website. January 12, 2026. I'm coming. January 12, 2026. Mahama administration pays 1.470 billion to clear energy sector debt.
To clear all the debt.
I'm coming. Yes, I'll read where I told you that he said he had cleared all. To clear energy sector and restored World Bank guarantee within the first year. Now, when you read the press release, just like when you get to the last but one paragraph, that's very relevant because I can't read everything. Last but beyond clearing inherited arrears. This is what the minister is saying. And through disciplined implementation of the cash waterfall mechanism by the Minister of Energy, government has remained current largely on all IPP's invoices.
But that's
why we're saying that there is a debt. You said you have cleared it. You understand?
So you're talking about the cash waterfall mechanism.
No.
That's different from the legacy debt.
No. They said they have cleared the legacy debt. They have cleared the legacy debt.
Why are you using
Not all the-
No, I'm not giving.
Not all the legacy debt has been
Just
cleared.
explain that.
Not all the legacy debt has been
So,
cleared.
but what
This
did
is
the
talking-
make my-
I'll give you-
What did
Because
the-
Hamza has also not finished.
what did the
But Awal is trying to use bad God to destroy this project. I'm not going to accept that. I won't come here and come here.
The communication is saying that
yeah.
government is current on current invoices.
Absolutely.
And has cleared 1.4 of the debt. Not all of the debts. No.
Okay, Hamza.
I'm really surprised.
You see,
Beyond clearing
Oh,
what
my
is the
God.
meaning of that?
Wow. Let's hear.
Beyond clearing all arrears, what is the meaning of that paragraph there?
Okay,
You can read and
Hamza,
have an appreciation.
Okay, right. No.
This is what
You-
that was why
Hamza,
in my
are
opening
you done?
statement I said he had cleared it
Yeah,
because I read this press release.
Okay,
Are you done?
let's move on. Yeah, Hamza.
Are you done?
Okay.
Are you done? You will need water. Don't worry. But you see, so these are the issues we are dealing with. Failure to understand how the energy sector works. And that is what my brother is just...
No, that's not correct. That's not correct.
And for us in the National Democratic Congress and the government, like I indicated in my initial submission, the focus is how to make generation available and also to provide the financial resources needed to make the sector viable. And we are committed to that. And that is why if you listen carefully to the minister responsible for energy, he indicated that one way of dealing with it is dealing with our RS in terms of commitments to IPPs. Right. And what you have read, like Senior Lom indicated, tells you that government was current in terms of IPP payments. But it does not also mean that going into the future, we may not have arrears accruing. Yes. That's one. Yeah. Secondly, in terms of the legacy debts, the 500 million guarantee that you depleted, we cleared it fully. Fully. And that was what the finance minister said. It was cleared fully. So we have nothing to pay in terms of the partial risk guarantee that you guys depleted recklessly. Okay. And these are the facts. And so, guys, see, to conclude on this matter, you see, I think that the MPP needs to take the good people of this country very serious, especially when we are dealing with issues of this nature. Either dealing with the Bank of Ghana costs incurred in terms of our economic recovery or the energy sector challenges that we are dealing with. It is important for them to refine, one, those who speak for them on the subject matter. And secondly, they must also demonstrate an appreciation and show some remorse in terms of what they subjected this country to as far as the energy sector is concerned in the last 8 years. Look, he made references to $2.45 billion that they inherited. I'm going to be charitable. I won't even reference the exchange rate equivalent of that particular 2.5 billion. As at the time they came into office.
Did you leave a 2.5?
Please.
Did you leave that debt?
I said, please, can you be patient? He made references to...
No, did you leave that?
Are you going to be patient? He made references to the 2.5 billion. Not so. That we left behind. Yeah. Do you know the amount of money that we inherited?
3.1.
2018. In excess of $70 billion in the energy sector.
No, 3.1 billion.
Please.
3.1. This was released, announced in Parliament by the Energy Minister. You can check.
Hamza, just let me.
It was 3.1 billion.
So, in excess of 70 billion Ghana cedis in the energy sector alone. And mind you, even at the time the NDC exited power with about 2.5 billion, we had indicated that ESLA alone was supposed to bring in excess of 40 billion Ghana cedis. These were the projections by 2020.
40 billion to clear what? To clear 2.1 billion with the exchange rate at that time?
At the exchange rate?
With the exchange rate at that time?
Yes.
How could that clear?
Understand how
how could that clear the entire debt?
2.1 billion, 2.5 billion against 40 billion Ghana cedis.
But you see,
at the time, what was the exchange? So even if you take 14, that is your exchange rate was 14.7, 2020.
ESLA was not even supposed to even.
So you see, they are thinking,
no, ESLA was not even supposed to accrue 40 billion.
Wrapping up.
I'm sure the MPP will be disappointed in their report.
No.
They will
be very
viewers
disappointed.
You have demonstrated. You have become
when I gave you time to speak.
You have become a sudden stammerer, and you are behaving in your chair as if you have been beaten by a bee. Discomfort because you do not have any foundation
from the host and yourself.
Hold on.
When I was speaking,
if anybody has been charitable to you, it's the host.
No, I have also been exceedingly charitable because he's a brother.
No. When you were talking,
so I'm charitable.
Didn't say a whimper, but you interjected.
The things I want to say, I'm holding back because
the truth of the matter is that leaders are supposed
have nothing to say.
The lives of their followers very comfortable and very easy. I can understand the difficulty of Awal. He did not organize the press conference. He was not part of the meeting. They went and organized.
He's a member of the National Committee.
No, it doesn't mean he's part of it. It's minority. Those in parliament, they sat down and did a bogus job. And Awal is the one this morning had to organize, answer.
He's just drinking water. He's just taking in water.
That lazy job that was done by the minority. So instead of him admitting that, look, some of the issues I would defer, he is rather trying very hard
that would defer
to respond.
Nobody is disputing the 500 million, 700 million. No one is disputing it even on this table.
Your own statement says that minority parties do not have access to real data. You said it here.
Yes.
That you don't have the data.
So they want RTI.
So on what
we want the ministry to come up. Oh, but when you read.
No, on what basis?
When you read the press statement.
I've read
we
that.
said that in the press statement. We said that the government should come clear because our independent checks. These are members.
Independent check from where? Independent check from where?
Oh, but Energy Commission has a lot of data.
I mean, you have the data.
So it means
you understand. So we are saying that we have the data that suggests that
so your data
there is a $700 million that is sitting that the government is not paying. So the government should come clear. If you read the statement, that was what they said.
The energy sector was mismanaged by the MPP. Let's admit.
And we kept the light on for 8 years.
The light was not on throughout. In fact, in 2024. Throughout 2024, we experienced doomsday. And that is why Gabi Asarochidako went on his war and said boldly that, look, and let me quote, sometimes all these things, if you are coming, you come prepared because the lies of Awal, they come here prepared with lies. You see, this is Gabi on the 28th of March, 2024. There is something mysteriously amiss somewhere. You have managed to keep the lights on for 7 years. You are saying 8 years, your light was on. This is Gabi, your Prime Minister talking. Even during
and just
in March, that was when we were doing.
We don't have a prime minister in
de facto.
In March, that was when we were doing the.
Even during the height of the economic crisis.
Let's be fair.
In March,
all right.
We don't have. Officially, we don't have.
Officially, unofficially. So even during the height of the economic crisis in 2022, why now still scratching my head? This is Gabi telling us that indeed there was doomsday, and for you to come and sit here that the last 8 years there was no doomsday, it rather creates a depth in your credibility. And that is why...
So you admit there was 7 years uninterrupted?
I have not said...
Because of the work the previous administration did. That you failed about things. So you were riding on the good judgment of the NDC job.
Don't worry.
It's common sense.
Don't matter what.
What did you do? What uniquely did you do for 8 years in the
I come and sit here, live here, come and lie straight.
Let's do the audience.
You have succeeded in taking our mind off the challenges we have now. And have centered the conversation on the debt.
But why are you accusing the host?
Okay. You know what, Mr. Napi, if you have any questions for Lom, he would explain a few things to us, and then okay.
I think this doomsday matter is a perennial problem in this country, and we should be thinking about how to nip the situation in the bud instead of talking about it in terms of political MPP and NDC to score political points.
Right.
We all know the effects of this doomsday on the businessmen in this country. So it's a matter that we should be thinking nationalistic matter instead of MPP and NDC. That's basically this is the contribution that I have.
Great point, sir.
But to the minority, I think that they should always take their time and come out with a constructive criticism instead of...
Is that to Awal?
Yes.
You mean the
and his
minority
people.
parliament?
Instead of
I'm a minority party.
instead of
Talking about our party.
Instead of coming out to criticize when there is none, it is not a sign of good opposition.
Criticize when we were
It is not a sign of good opposition, but it is also a challenge to the energy minister, Honorable John Abdullah Jinapor, that he should sit up and then work hard to protect the image of President Mahama government.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great points there. Probably we go behind. You have some points. Okay, yeah. So the guy behind, and then we come to you. Yeah.
Prof made a statement about the Dumso, about some fairness. So is it really a political issue? That's what I want to ask. If we are
about what he mentioned.
He mentioned that some of the power supply, some regions or some places are getting it fair. Some people are not getting it fair.
Okay.
All right. He made a statement that where he's staying at East Legon Hills.
I recall,
yes, he's getting a good power supply, but some part of Adenta, they are not getting a good supply, which is kind of fair to where he is staying. So I want to ask if this fairness, this Dumso issue, if it's really supposed to be a political issue, or we are supposed to find a solution for the Dumso, because if the NDC is supposed to leave power, we're going to have another government in power. Are we going to criticize them if they also are having similar issues? So why don't we find a solution to it than to politicize it and then move on? My next question is about, I don't know if it's a question or it's a contribution. In Pokuase, I know there's a power supply, a bulk power supply in Pokuase. But what I want to say is that we have a house in Pokuase. I go there a lot. From 2022, there's a bit of power outage issue.
Consistent in that area.
Consistently. Sometimes I get call from my mom, there's like 4 days power outage. And it's not only in the NDC government, in the MPP government. And then if it's very bad when you get like 4 days consistent power outages, and then there's a bulk power supply coming from there.
So you want to know technically what's happening?
Yes, that's why I'm raising to the point. Is this still political issues, or we have to find solutions for it?
Genuine ones. Okay. You, and then we check. Right. So go ahead first. Yes.
So good morning, everyone. I'm the person of Debie Jonathan. So this morning, I would like to ask Mr. Honorable Awal Mohammed.
No. Not honorable. Just Awal is okay.
He's honorable in waiting, so just...
No, just Awal is
okay.
Grant him that.
So, Mr. Awal, I think I would like to ask him that is he being neutral on this table or trying to talk on behalf of the ordinary Ghanaian? Because I see him to be wearing a purely political blue jersey.
But I'm a politician. I've come here to represent my party.
Sorry for that statement. Yes. Yeah, sorry for that statement. But I seem to be, even if he's going to constructively criticize this Dumso issue, I think he should also...
You should speak for the Ghanaians.
What did I say that I didn't speak for Ghanaians?
No, I'm not. Wait. I'm not. Wait. I'm not saying I'm not speaking for Ghanaians.
Why are you
I'm
fighting
that?
No. I want to understand.
Now you have moved from the high table to the...
No. I want to understand. He says he has a question for me, but I want to understand.
Okay. I get that. Let me just move behind for a second. Yes, let's be snappy about it, so I get along to
very, very snappy.
Yeah.
The first thing is that it is clear that the intermittent power outages that we've recorded from January right down to today, it's not only about the fire outbreak at the control unit at Akosombo. That's the first thing to know. It is also not only as a result of the transformer changes as we are made to believe. I believe that it is a combination of the two, and the perennial losses that we have in the system, and you and I know the steps that we are taking to try and solve it. So that must be made clear. Because at the time when the minister was having the accountability series, the impression that was created by dint of the presentation he made was that it was solely because of these two issues that we are having the power outages. But I think that must be Come again, sir.
That's not true.
Well,
then you didn't listen to
me.
me.
I listened to the minister from start to end.
That's not true.
Apart from the mention of the Akosombo fire outbreak and the transformer changes, nothing was mentioned.
Perennial structural challenges confronting the sector. He said it. That's not true.
Well, I don't recall.
Go and listen. Even Go FM.
So you also know. I listened to it. I listened to it.
You were arguing. I'm correct.
I also you arguing.
But I listened to it. But you see, I think that the NDC, the seriousness levels that I'm expecting that the sitting government today should take this power outage, it doesn't come across as the kind of seriousness they are attaching to it, because it is the biggest affront we have to the 24-hour economy that they promised the youth of today. Some of us would want to create our own businesses, but we decided to some of us vote for the NDC because of the promises they made in relation to the Agenda 133. But if you don't have power, constant power supply, how are you going to be able to This is a suggestion. This is a suggestion, please. This is a suggestion. You see,
he's exposing himself.
Even as we admit everything that has been said, the challenges and all, there is this point that the minister makes that some of the issues are isolated issues. As it stands now, it doesn't look as if the ministry has made steps to put out even a call line for those of us who record some of those outages. No, but it's not gained prominence, especially in the heat of this. When if you know that you have a loophole to solve some of the solutions just by simply giving out a call line, why don't you put it out? We don't seem to get that. So I'm hoping that some of those things will be done.
Be brief. Let me come to
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is just a brief question. I think the conversation has been very interesting, but yet it's like it has been complaints, banter, and all these things.
Well, we have real issues to take.
I think
talk about
the main issue that we should be discussing now is how to solve these problems. But then with the initial submission of the energy experts, he made mention of the fact that we don't have generation problem. I mean, we have excess generation installed capacity. And looking at our peak demand, which is somewhere around 4,000, 4,300. If we have less peak demand and we have large installed generation capacity, why then doom so? And also, it's like we depend more on this thermal generation, 70%. Is there any other alternative generation thing that we can do to actually get this doomsday problem solved? I think that is what the conversation should be getting to.
Apologies, because of time, we have to switch over. So let me do this. Lom will have the last take on this, then we talk about the BOG losses.
Okay, just quickly. So starting with the last one. Yes, and all of them. For me, I'm an apostle of renewable energy. I've been pushing the renewable energy conversation significantly. One of the things that we can do is that the more people, like businesses, individuals, and homes and so on, adopt renewable energy, for example, solar, it means that we'll free up the grid. What we are taking from the grid today will become more available for the industries and so on. It's one of the things that we have to be doing much more of.
And we had invested heavily in that. At least MPP had done that.
We can talk about
as for the solar, as for renewable energy, the data shows that the investment is not there. For example,
the Kalio one.
No.
Well, you're on fire today. I understand that, but just hold on. Let him.
We have 3 megawatts. On solar, we made 3 megawatts. And now today,
he's doing his time. Awal has done his time.
It's okay.
We made 3 megawatts.
So investments have been done. It's true.
That should be pointed out.
But what I'm saying is
I know. Okay.
We are talking about the impact. For example, even in we had a target of having 10% of the national grid being renewable energy by 2020. We are in 2026. We don't even have 1%. Even with the Kaleo,
we don't have 1%.
No, it's not up to. If you look at the installed capacity, if you look at the investments we have, it is not up to 1%.
The next
that's how.
But at least there is.
So let's deal with the next issue about the technical situation around that.
Yes.
Allow people to speak.
It's not a monologue.
I know, but
he will not get back.
Ashanti region is not.
No, he was talking about Kaswa, right? Or Pokwasi.
The bulk supply point. That means that it's a localized issue. Maybe your transformer, there are issues with it, or how it was
that's a spawning area.
So sometimes when yes, new development, sometimes the developments go ahead of perhaps the projection and all that. So something like that. And I think he also mentioned something about fairness and unfairness with the Ashanti region. I don't think there's any target on a particular region. It's just peculiarities of the sector and the structure over time. So, as I said, a lot is being done. Because
people were speculating that this was targeted towards the Ashanti region.
No, it's not targeted. It's not now. Because, for example, the moving of the Ameri plants to Ashanti region was even in MPP time. Yes, and now even AXA also. So it's not targeted. Yes, exactly. It's not a targeted thing. Just that, as I said, the load centers are crying. Kumasi. Right. So you need to do more also in Kumasi, and that will continue to be the case regardless.
Okay, let's move into BOG losses. Listen to this, and then I'll start off with you, Solo, because I see that you're interested in finance. Okay, watch this.
Lost, or to some people, loss for 2025 of 15.6 billion Ghana cedis, compared to a loss of 9.4 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. Other comprehensive income recorded a charge of 19.32 billion, reflecting the impact of a stronger cedi on the cedi value of the bank foreign reserves. I'll take time and explain them. The net equity position of the bank stood at negative 61.3 billion as at the end of 2024, down from a positive 1.2 billion compared to a negative equity of 35 billion as at the end of 2025. Cumulatively bringing the net equity position of the bank to about 96.3 billion. This simply means that as at the time President Mahama assumed office, the total negative equity position of Bank of Ghana was 61.3 billion. Meanwhile, as at 2021, we had a positive net equity of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. These numbers reflect the cost of work that was done. What have we achieved to see these costs over the past 1 year? Ghana's economy has been transformed. Inflation has fallen from 23.8% as at the end of 2024 to 5.4% by the end of 2025, and to 3.2% by March of this year, the 15th consecutive month of decline. For the woman buying tomato at the market, that means the price of a basket of food is stable and not increasing drastically as it did a year ago.
Beginning to wear off. And what is left now is a government side that is defending the things that they complained about when they were in opposition. Now, in 2023, the Bank of Ghana made a loss of 10 billion Ghana cedis. Today's majority, the then minority, were those who, among other things, went on demonstration, calling for the head of Governor Addison at the time, calling on him to resign. I think, if I recall correctly, within 21 days. And later, the then candidate who became president said that and other practices in the economy amounted to criminal mismanagement of the economy. I'm quoting his words. Today, they have made a loss of 15 billion Ghana cedis after they promised Ghanaians to give them power, they will do better. They've made a loss of 15 billion Ghana cedis. And instead of releasing the accounts so that everybody can read, they choose to hide their accounts.
Okay, the claims of Kujo Ponkrumah there. Solo?
Well, as much ado about nothing, I have listened carefully to the majority. I've read the report of the Bank of Ghana, and it's much ado about nothing. In fact, we must rather pat this Bank of Ghana at the back for what they have done, if you are a sincere person. I would rather take you to the Constitution so that you understand where I'm coming from. And Article 183, the role of the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana shall be the central bank of Ghana and shall be the only authority to issue the currency of Ghana. 2, the Bank of Ghana shall A, promote and maintain the stability of the currency of Ghana and direct and regulate the currency system in the interest of economic progress of Ghana. This is the core mandate of the Bank of Ghana. So that when your cedi is wobbling, it is the duty of the Bank of Ghana to maintain it. As to how they maintain it, I don't give a hoot. If the Bank of Ghana is incurring losses, to make sure that your currency is stable, to make sure that inflation is down, to make sure that your reserve position is good. That is it. That is all to it.
You don't care about the losses?
Losses to who?
Okay.
The people of this country must always benefit from the actions of an institution.
So why was it an issue previously when we're complaining that...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is why some of us complain. For instance, you take 2022, the Bank of Ghana incurred a loss of 60 billion. That is not the issue, but you check against inflation in 2022. Whether or not, as a result of incurring 60 billion debt, they were able to reduce inflation drastically. The answer is an emphatic no. In fact, it was in 2022 that inflation went to 54%. So then that would not justify your loss of 60 billion. You get my point? The exchange rate. It was in 2022 that it went up to almost 17 cedi at a point, it was 16.4 or so according to the Bank of Ghana data. So that was not justified. Now we are talking about a loss position of what? 15.6. Your currency as of 2024 end year, the cedi to the dollar was 14.7 per Bank of Ghana's record. But within the same period of 20, remember we are talking about 2025. The same period of 2025, it ended at 10.45 cedi to the dollar. It means substantially they were able to reduce they appreciate the cedi by almost 40.7%. That is a cost, because you cannot achieve stability without incurring any cost. But when you are incurring losses and there is no stability, then there becomes a problem. You understand? So that is why we will have to have a time and do a comprehensive analysis of this situation. And you would agree with me that this Bank of Ghana rather deserves commendation from us.
I see. Hamza?
I think that, thank you, Solo, for being nationalistic in terms of your handling of this matter. Soga,
yeah.
In principle, we never disagreed with the NPP when it comes to the mandate of the Bank of Ghana, like my brother carefully enumerated. We agree that the mandate of the Bank of Ghana is not simply to make profits, but to ensure price stability, exchange rate stability, and to a very large extent, sound economic management of the economy. Now, if you incur costs, otherwise branded as loss, in your objective of achieving, or in your quest to achieving these objectives, and you fail to deliver results, then indeed at that critical moment, you are incurring verifiable losses. And that was the situation in 2022. In 2022, the government or Bank of Ghana had lost in excess of 60 billion. And out of that 61 billion that was lost, 48 billion of that amount was due to the debt exchange program. Government simply saying that we would not be able to service the coupon rates that you have. Okay. So Bank of Ghana lost that huge sums of money, not because they were trying to intervene in the economy to ensure price stability and sound economic management, but simply because government's reckless borrowing and expenditure had caught up with the Bank of Ghana. So that was a loss that we were justified to be angry over as a people.
And we shouldn't be angry over the loss now?
And I'll demonstrate to you why we shouldn't be. Today, at the time they did it, inflation was 54%. Remember that the report for 2022 was released in 2023 June. And despite these losses, inflation was at its highest, 54.1%. The exchange rate, the cedi had depreciated in excess of about almost 40 to 50%. That simply means that even cost of living on the average Ghanaian was worsened within that time frame. So there was no justification for that cost. But under this current dispensation, we acknowledge that, look, for us to be able to more or less provide that sound economic management that is required of the bank, as far as this Act and the Constitution is concerned, there is the need for the government or for the Bank of Ghana to roll out certain policies. And one of them, if you look at the nature of one of the outcomes of such costs is our inflationary rate. It ended the year by about, I think, around 5.5%. No, Soga, you can't end.
I get
5.4%. Now, apart from that, there's an improvement in the cedi. It appreciated in excess of 40% in a matter of just 1 year. So these are the cost implications you should be looking at. But then again, contrary to what we experienced in 2022, it's not the same. The losses we are talking about are not simply losses that Bank of Ghana can be said, oh, they threw money away. A chunk of it are paper losses. And let me give you a classical example. Yeah. If you look at the other comprehensive income loss of about 20 billion, it is not because Bank of Ghana spent recklessly or government spent recklessly. It is simply because if you look at our international reserves, for example, if we had $100 and the equivalent of that $100 in cedi term under the MPP regime would have been 14.7. So maybe the equivalent of 100 Ghana would have been 1,400 Ghana cedi in our reserve.
We're running out of time.
Please. But this is important. Okay. Now, under us, because the cedi has appreciated, the same $100 gives you about 1,000 Ghana. So for doing simply nothing in terms of expenditure, government, Bank of Ghana has lost about 4 Ghana cedis simply because they have made the cedi better. So if they convert their reserves in dollar equivalent to cedi, we are losing. Okay. So this is not money the Bank of Ghana has spent in the name of building a cathedral through the government of Ghana or paying high cost of government expenditure bills. Absolutely not. It is simply intended towards recovery. And the beautiful thing about that recovery journey is that the Bank of Ghana is positioned in such a way that these investments, they would be able to retire their costs going into the future.
Okay, we need to go. Well, let me give you the last take on this.
Okay. So
we're wrapping up.
And you are rushing us through. You rush us.
This was a serious
we ended 2021 with a positive.
That's fine.
We entered into 2022 and there was a crisis.
Okay.
The crisis that came with inflationary figures. When you check, we entered 2022 with 13.9% inflation, but ended with 54%. This is not peculiar to Ghana. When you check UK, they started with 2% and ended with 11%. In fact, that year, UK changed 3 prime ministers because of economic issues. That is the fact. So it came with this higher inflation. So that is the reason at that time we had to take that cut. Today, we are told that indeed what they bastardized and told us that the economy was criminally managed to the extent that they said the Governor Bank of Ghana was collapsing Bank of Ghana. Today they are telling us that indeed they have really manage it better today.
Right. Awal, we need to go now.
The economy that is doing well is not able to pay arrears of teachers. Arrears of nurses.
And Lom, apologies, you're not able to get the last.
Is that a buoyant economy with inflation of 3.2 will not be able to pay arrears of teachers, arrears of nurses? No single teacher has been appointed.
Awal, thank you. Awal, thank you. Thanks to Awal Mohammed, Hamza, and to you, Solomon, and of course, Lom. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again. It's a wrap from us. Bye for now.